Ironing is sort of like, it is unexpectedly important to costuming. It's a step that people forget a lot. You kind of have to iron, you know, you have to iron before you start cutting. You have to iron your pattern pieces if you want to make sure they lay out right. That's something I used to be really bad about. Caitlin had to kind of take me to task about my complete lack of ironing anything while I was making a project. But if you don't iron, you end up with all these creases. It can mean your costume won't sit right later, and when you're sewing things together it could like get out of alignment and you could end up with like puckers and things like that in it. So the first thing you do besides washing fabric is you iron it, and then as you go you also iron all the pieces that you're sewing as you're going. So you have like, you know, you iron all your hems and stuff like that so that you make sure it's sitting right. It's one of the more boring parts of costuming, but it makes such a huge difference if you just take the time to do it as you go. So I'm just trying to get all the creases out of this because it has been sitting in a bag since I bought it, and this is going to end up being the shirt that Yang wears like underneath her jacket. So we actually just finished buying all of the pieces for my costume. We bought them all at one time at a thrift store, and they just happened to have the fabric I needed for this, a pair of pants we're going to cut to make them work as the shorts that Yang wears, and then we bought a jacket that we're just going to like start cutting into pieces so that we can use the fabric for it. So it was a really productive shopping trip. But it's all been sitting in a bag since I bought it, so it's all really, really wrinkled.
Is there a piece of chalk in the box?
Probably.
Well, the white might not be the best choice. Actually, I've got blue.
Oh, I mean either will show up really nicely. Tracing paper it's this stuff. It's really cool. It's a great tool for when you have to like, especially when you're like us and you share patterns, you use this stuff, and instead of having to cut the pattern out to your actual size, you can just trace around the edges basically, and when you're done, you actually end up with just the size you need, but you end up with an intact pattern that you can use again for the different sizes. It's great if you have to share patterns or you're going to be doing a lot of different things with the same pattern. Most people think they buy a pattern, they use it once, they only use it for themselves. That's what it's designed for. But if you do cosplay like us, you never know what size you're going to need. You never know if you're going to use it for someone else in your group. It's a great way to kind of conserve money because you can then reuse a pattern again and again for different things and not have to go out and buy a pattern for every single costume piece. So I'm just borrowing hers right here, and it means that I can then just kind of go right in here and cut out the bits I need. And that way, if we ever need this pattern again, then we could use it for her or for me or for our friends, depending on what we have going on. And it just saves a lot of time and money. It's also much easier than like, you know, pinning every pattern piece and then like trying to do everything by hand, because now I have this like marked out. And I can just basically lift this right up and I'm done with this piece. You know, if you're not used to patterns, this part can take a while. I know some people, like the first couple times I did a pattern, it took me forever because I was second guessing myself all the time, and I'm one of those like people who like, I'll pin it and then I'll realize that I didn't pin it quite right and I'll have to go back. Caitlin can back me up on this. If anyone's going to pin something backwards, it's going to be me. But you know, you get better every time you do something. So every time I mess something up to a point where I have to like completely redo it, it's, you know, that's how you learn. That's how you get good at things. She's not kidding when she says she taught me everything that I know. Like, she pretty much has. That's pretty much how it's gone.
She had this curse on her.
I did. I had a curse with sewing machines.
But I was the prince.
Yes. She has saved me from my curse.
Like literally.
And we will make costumes. Yeah.
Anytime she touched the sewing machine, it would either break or it would eat.
Yeah. I'm famous at my college and the costume shop because I am. They taught me to sew same way they did everybody else, and yeah, the costume mistress like sat me down and taught me what to do, and ever after that, I was not allowed anywhere near her sewing machines because I somehow managed to tangle threads in gears so badly that she had to, like, it took her 15 minutes to take the entire machine apart to get the thread out. And she'd never seen anyone do that before.
Did you break it?
No,
Did you break it?
I'm not breaking your sewing machine. I promise. I haven't broken a sewing machine in a really long time. Knock on wood.